Okay, this is seminar 21. It's a tour of Corning Glass Museum. We're going to be recording this, and I'd ask people to mute their microphones so we don't get any background noise. And if you've got some questions, why don't we ask questions during the proceedings so that we can get some more input on some of the things that you'll see. As you may have heard at the beginning, Todd and Matt Lacy will be joining us. Todd Knisley and Matt Lacy. They've been at the museum several times. I was there with Mike Craig a couple times, and I was there earlier many years ago with Bill Mitchell, and it's always a fun time to go and see the museum. We are going to look at the possibility of trying to get with the curators and see if we can get them to change their display a little bit. And that's kind of the focus of this whole seminar, is to show you what they have and to if you want to go and see this, do it. It's well worth it. And there's a lot of bottles there. They could be shown a little bit better. I don't think they have the knowledge and expertise that they need to put together a coherent presentation, which would provide all the information that we would like to see. If you go there, it's in the middle of New York, towards the Pennsylvania side. The admission is $20, which is well worth it. It's only open from Wednesday to Sunday, so if you go on Monday and Tuesdays, you're going to be out of luck. There's hot chops, so you can see glass being blown. If have you watched any of the Blown Away from Netflix, this is where it's done through conjunction here, and you'll see a lot of the things that they blew on display at the museum. The museum is the history of glass, how it's being made. And then there's a lot of modern glass, and there's a lot of antique glass items. And then there's a great museum gift shop that you can buy all sorts of things that are being made, that were made at the museum. We're not going to get into a lot of the new things. There's some great displays. I have great pictures of a lot of the new glassware. And here's some of the stuff that you can see in the gift shop. It's a great display. But we're not going to really focus on this today. Again, these are all things for sale. This is the piece that Mike and I like the best. And Mike understands how this is made, and he says it's probably one of the most intricate pieces that there is. And him and Treg are trying to recreate this. And then we get into some of the newer stuff. This is the display that they have is a lot of really quality pieces. This is a great Tiffany piece that's on display there, and some information on it. You'll see this a little bit later at the in the presentation. Some of the pieces they have, displayed, and then they have the information about it. For the most part, a lot of it is just on display. This was an interesting display that they had on window glass production. And this is basically how it's done. And you can see the large bubbles that they used, and then they cut them and rolled them out. Obviously, this isn't the size, this is a scale model, but it kind of gives you an idea of what it was like to be in a glass manufacturing facility at the time. No, this isn't one of the things that you wanted to talk about, was it, Matt? This is a different one. Like they say, they have a few things that they describe in depth, and this is the one. It's engraved, from uh, Pennsylvania. I think we have a better picture of this later on, and Matt talks about it. And then they've got this beautiful beauty. And Matt, you want to,
Sure.
jump right in on
Yeah.
the flask, and Todd, you can jump in if you want to talk about that Steuben piece. I can bring that back up.
Yeah, sounds great, Mike. I can jump in right here with the Tippy Canoe if we want to start here.
Yeah, have at it, man.
Yeah,
Great. So this is a Group 7-1 Tippy Canoe cabin. There's probably about 5 of these known. And to my knowledge, there's only 2 perfect ones. One is in private hands, and this being the second one. Corning did have another example of this particular, this is called the 4-roof Tippy Canoe. There is a 2-roof, which we'll get to in a minute, but there we go. So there's the 4-roof is just a beautiful emerald green color, very rare piece. Again, 5 known, 3 that are damaged with epoxy repairs or cracks, and then 2 that are perfect. The 2-roof Tippy Canoe on the left, as you see in this picture, is actually even rarer, and this is the Group 7-2. There's only 2 of these known to exist. The other one is in a private collection, and it does have some damage. And if I recall right, this one has a small issue. It's not perfect either, so I'm not sure either one of them are perfect. So extremely, extremely rare bottle.
there was a rumor out that they found a piece of a clear
Yep,
one.
that would be the one on the right, the 4-roof in clear.
There isn't any complete ones known though.
No.
Shards.
That was dug at Mount Vernon, I believe, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Now that where that 4-roof is displayed, if I'm not mistaken, that is pretty well described in the museum. They'll have
It is.
a placard off to the side and say, item 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it's very easy to follow visually. It kind of flows. And I think they do know the significance of items like this. But then if you get into the 2-roof that Matt was talking about, is even rarer, and it's just shoved in with a group of bottles.
Yeah.
Where they should have a Harrison campaign display and do a couple broadsides and election banners and stuff like that, and then have these bottles there and explain, this was used to help popularize a certain candidate. They may have been given away to the biggest donors. I mean, who knows why they were really blown and what the real intention was, but they could make a real story of it instead of just sitting a bottle on a shelf, and then on the 2-roof just burying a bottle in the shelves.
Yeah, and Todd, to your point, they also have a Group 163 Harrison flask that would go really well with the 2 new cabins. So. Cool. So this is a Behringer cannon, Behringer cannon rather. Getting it confused with the music equipment, Todd. So I've been playing with that recently. So the Behringer cabin or the cannon. There is a second example with the original display like this out there and label. That is in private hands, but this is a fantastic piece, and this is how it would have been displayed originally.
Like the dealer would have had this in the store.
Yeah.
You know.
So 2 incredibly important flasks, of course. We have the Columbia, the Group 1 119 Columbia blown at Kensington. Just a beautiful example. Not too dark, but a nice vivid deep blue. And then we've got of course, the Group 1024 Jared Spencer flask on the right there. another just gorgeous example of that bottle. And again, as Todd mentioned, these particular bottles are very well displayed. They are sort of, you know, isolated on a main display in the lobby area. This is outside of the flask cabinets that are kind of shoved in the room, kind of another room. So we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, so part of an original mold, of course. You can see there is good signage behind this that sort of explains this. Coventry, Connecticut, Lafayette flask, half of the mold, and it's very well displayed. You can see it very clearly, and the signage is good.
I bring in some close-ups of these things, but you notice the signage is fairly complete here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're trying to highlight the use of labels. That might be at least part of the theme, but the best bottle here is that green porter that you can't see on the left behind that snuff. That's actually a sealed Mount Vernon porter bottle that says Mount Vernon Glassworks on the seal.
We've got some pictures of that a little bit later too.
Yeah, unbelievable piece. And they could sit that snuff off to the right, but between the porter and that labeled med off to the right, and it would sit there just fine, and you could see both pieces. But they don't realize the importance of what they sat on the shelf. You know, somebody is the VP of displays, whatever their title is, and they go pick things out of boxes, and then they have whoever's in charge of physically sitting things out put these 28 things out this month, and that's where they end up. And the person that sits them out might be there, you know, working for free for college credits or whatever, and they achieve the task, you know, check mark. I put those things on the shelf they told me to. And you know, and the intern gets their credit. It's a shame to group things up like that when they have so much room to display things.
And I find that they just, you know, have things like patent medicine bottle.
Yes. And then, and they should be trying to explain, look how this flask is covered in leather. And that was to add durability to the bottle. It was probably used as a canteen or as like on the side of a horse saddle or something. It rode in a wagon where it could get beat to death and still live. And you know, that leather's been on there for so long that it's taken the impression of the flask underneath. But this was given to the bottle so it would have a longer life. And you know, I can't read those descriptions from where I'm at, but it probably just says something to the effect of leather covered flask. Flask with leather case.
Yeah.
New Jersey, Coffin and Hay. Which is cool that it was kind of cool that they tell you what it is, but
now
and it's easy to pick apart anything, you know, at least with sitting the things out.
Today's people, you know, you're carrying around water bottles all the time. And obviously back then, you know, you had to stay hydrated also. It was just as hot and just as your need for water. You couldn't really drink the water that you found. It wasn't really potable. Did they carry water, you know, with them like that, or was that some other, you know, was that whiskey and stuff that they were carrying to drink to stay hydrated, or would they actually have water in those bottles and carry them? Good question, I guess. I don't know.
I don't have any expertise in that. I think a lot of times it was like watered down wine, the thought was if there's some amount of alcohol in there, even though they didn't know why, they didn't understand germ theory, but the wine was safer to drink than the raw water because of different bacterias. But I'm sure that people actually carried and stored water. They just had to. They had to. They cooked with water.
And here's our jar collection. I don't know enough about jars to make any comments here, guys. You guys over there are the jar collectors in Ohio. You have any comments about anything spectacular in there?
I would say the Van Vliet on the upper right is a fairly good one with the crossbar and the thumb screw. The one in the lower front in the middle, that looks like an Empire jar, if I'm not mistaken. Now you get closer, it doesn't look like that. It looks like a East Stroudsburg jar.
Yeah.
I believe that's what that is. But that's a good jar right there in the middle, for sure.
That's Lion and Bossard.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely a good jar.
If they had more room, it might be interesting to go from oldest examples, like up to turn of the century, and I'm sure that would encapsulate a lot of bizarre closures. But start with very old patent dates.
Yeah, to your point, Todd, I think that one jar that's on the lower left, that may be machine made.
Oops.
Yeah, I think so. And if you go down to the Ohio Historical Society, they do the same thing with jars. They have shelves of jars. There's smooth lip machine made jars along with corkers and pedal jars, and it's to them they're just food containers, and 50 years of manufacturing date difference doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it could be a much more robust if it had some type of a order or theme to it, for sure.
All right, I can speak to these, Mike. So
Okay.
the flask on the right is a Group 2 144. There are only two examples known of that bottle. One is in private hands, and the other one is here in Corning. The flask on the left is a Group 3-3. It's a cornucopia flask. That's a little bit of a blurry picture, but it's really unusual. If you take a look at it, you can see the elongated base. Really a neat form and fairly iconic flask. Yeah, so this is a Group 416, and these come in a couple different colors. They come in like a dark olive green mostly. Sometimes you'll see them in like a really rich, brilliant aquamarine. This one is almost black. It's a very, very neat early type crude bottle. They always have that neat appeal with the shoulder with the extra little bit of detail around the shoulder, and then the lip. It just really makes it. But I guess in that same picture, there's a Masonic 1829 sort of hiding behind it, which is a critically important flask as well. So you can kind of see that's just hiding behind it. You can't really get a great look at it. There's some interesting cases here. We'll point out some more of that's going on at Corning. So, all right, next slide. All right, so here there's a lot of great bottles at Corning. There's a lot of really important flasks, so I can't get to all of them, but I will point out a few that I think are really, really important. So there is a yellow Group 944. middle shelf all the way to the right, that corset scroll flask. Really an important flask. And that's a 43 to the left of it, and a very deep amethyst, almost, it's so purple, it's almost black. It's a great bottle. And that's John Robinson out of Pittsburgh. And that is actually marked JR and Sons on it. A couple other bottles to sort of point out here. Oh yeah, this is going to be really interesting too. So there's a Hearts and Flowers in the very back, same shelf, in a light green, which is a really amazing bottle. Yep, can barely see it. To the right of that, oh my goodness, there's so many bottles here. That is a Group 953. That is a one-of-a-kind pint scroll. There's only one known. And it's against the back wall where you can't even really see it. It's extremely ornate in the middle. A really amazing flask in every regard. Another case. We'll get to this one. I think there's another picture of it somewhere that's a little bit better, but they're just underneath that yellow corset scroll. You'll see in the back right corner, that is a yellow-green American System flask buried in the back corner of the shelf.
Oh my God.
That's, to flask collectors, that's an iconic Pittsburgh flask. That's up there with the best of them, and it's sort of buried. You can't even really get a good look at it, even in person. So I think I'm going to leave it at that for this slide, Mike. There's so much I could cover here, but I think we'll keep going. Okay, yeah, the Jackson Medallion flask. So the 68 in yellow green. This is just an incredible bottle. These sometimes come in aqua, but this one is just, to find one of these in color, just incredibly impressive. And again, if you look at this picture, that's the best picture and the best perspective you can get on that bottle at corner.
It's in the back row.
Mm-hmm. That's as much of it as you can see.
And
even if you crawl on the floor.
One row in front of it, I think it's 4 or 5 rows deep.
Yeah. Cool. Todd, you want to talk to these?
Oh, hey, yeah, there's that sealed porter bottle. Look at that seal on the shoulder. Just magnificent. I think it's the only known example. Of course, it's paneled. This is the same glassworks this Tippecanoes came out of. In fact, it's the glassworks that Jonathan Tinker came out of, and then came to Ohio and started the Mantaway Glassworks, which did some important blown 3 mold stuff, and then went to Kent and did the same thing. But just unassuming, just looks like a bottle. Looks like a $300 Pittsburgh Porter sitting back there. And if you don't know, you don't know. There's a kind of a close-up of the seal. You can make out in the top arch, it's Mount Vernon. And then the initials, I think, are MSM in a monogram. And I don't know what that stands for. And I don't know if it's SMM or MSM, or I don't know what it is, but extremely cool.
Here's another example of and I'll talk to this a little bit. So this is a Group 164 Jackson flask with a wide mouth and really unique stopper in it. It is also in the very back corner of a shelf. And again, this is truly the best picture you could possibly get of that bottle, where it's located on display. That's as much of it as you can see. Probably unique, definitely an important bottle with that type of mouth and finish that they did to it. So that's really cool. In front of that, and also impossible to see, that granted, the 64 in the back is 5 rows deep. The blue 60 in front of that is 4 rows deep, and that is a cobalt blue marked Lockport Glassworks Washington Taylor. Probably, if you collect Washington Taylors, that's at the top. I mean, that bottle is that's probably, you know, probably the #1 pick for most Washington Taylor collectors, even over the fancy striated ones.
Right.
To get a marked one in cobalt like that, that's pretty unique. All right. Okay, so this is a Group 198. This is the Wheeling Benjamin Franklin. So it's marked Benjamin Franklin on the front. Looks like the Diatville mold, the Franklin Diatville mold, but on the back it's actually marked Wheeling Glassworks with the bust of Diet, which we don't know why they left it that way, why they changed the lettering, but somehow that mold or the mold maker, I don't know. But to find it in this color is just unbelievable. And you can see it's kind of nestled back behind some stuff. You can't really get a wonderful clear view of it.
At least the thing in front of it's also from Wheeling. Maybe that's their connection.
Very possible.
Those two.
All right, now this is probably arguably one of the most important flasks at Corning. This is the Group 259 Pint Charter Oak and Prussian Blue. There is only, okay, so McCarran lists a Prussian Blue one and a clear one. To my knowledge, this is the only one. I don't know where the clear one is, and a lot of the flask collectors have no idea where the clear one is. So I haven't talked to anyone who can identify where that bottle is actually located. But the Pint Charter Oak is unique. And if you want to see one, this is the only place that you can do so. And you can see it's again kind of hidden behind some great flasks. They're all wonderful items. Those coffin and hay flasks in the front, those 53 flag flasks are not anything to pass over. But that Charter Oak needs to be out front somewhere, even by itself. It's just that important. Okay, so this flask is awesome, and I think they have this one miscatalogued at Corning. I think they have this cataloged as a Group 1-5, which is the Washington Eagle with the X. As you can see in the oval, you'll see the beads, and then you'll see an X in the center. The 5 has a triple row of beads along the edge. However, the 4 has the double row of beads in the flat edge. So they have this cataloged as a 5, but I believe this to be a 4 in color. And to speak to the importance of that, in private hands, there's only 2 aquamarine ones. And I believe one may be perfect, but one is definitely damaged. One is cracked. But if this is I believe this to be a 4, and if it is, that's again another off the charts flask in every way. Even if it's a 5, it's off the charts to find in a color like that. Again, early Pittsburgh. Okay. All right, so this is a Group 277 New England Glass Company, and this is the concentric ring. You may take note of the color of that flask. Yes, it's got lip damage, but I have never heard or seen a shard of one in this color. McCarran lists this bottle as a peacock blue-green. I don't know. I don't see a lot of green in it. I see a lot of blue in it. So I would just call it peacock personally, like a peacock blue. But regardless, I mean, that flash should be out front. That's crazy.
It's so easy to tell a story about it because it's marked where it was blown.
Mm-hmm.
So you're tossing softballs here. To someone who cares about the history of early American glass, that is such an easy bottle to tell a story about. And it just got sat on a shelf.
Yep. I love the next picture here, Mike. This is kind of, and this one you can see pretty easily. It's not buried that deep, but it's still hard to see. It's This is a great example. That's a Group 2.5 and a brilliant yellow green. Just incredible flask. The impression's amazing. Early Pittsburgh beaded stuff here. You know, the earliest of the Pittsburgh flasks. Highly desirable, highly collectible. And it's really difficult to see. Just an amazing bottle, sort of, you know, hidden behind some stuff. The campaign flasks in the front, again, wonderful bottles. Those almost need their own little area. They're all presidential campaign, politically related, so it would be great to have those sort of kind of in their own segmented area. Some people collect just those, so that would be neat to kind of segment off a little bit. Yeah, there's another picture of that Group 259 Charter Oak. And you can kind of get an idea of what you're going to see if you're looking through the window on the front of that cabinet at Corning. That's how it's going to show up for you.
This is a wonderful colonial American piece, without getting into what's the percentage of chance it could be from England or whatnot. Let's just assume for this debate that it's a colonial American piece. I mean, this is Stiegel, and the blue sugar behind it is probably Amelung. The sugar with the chicken or the rooster on top is very possibly Worcester. And you know, here you see these things, and it's like, my goodness, how did they even acquire these? This is a lifetime collection of 3 pieces of glass, really. The blue thing you could get if you look, but you're going to look a long time until you find a clear colonial diamond sugar with that ornate of a lid. It's an unbelievable lid, and the finial is even ribbed, and the finial has a finial on top. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I don't know what it's listed as. I would love to see the sideboard on this, but this is out in the main gallery. I think it's out in the main area where, you know, they do say something about it, but it'll probably just say early American lidded sugar bowl, you know, Eastern American, and give some bizarre date range that they can't miss on. You know, 1745 to 1830, something like that. They can't be wrong with. But these things are so I mean, I get it. It's Corning Museum, and you go there to see unbelievable things, but these things are just so rare. And then sometimes displayed, like in the previous 3 or 4 slides, displayed with things that are not rare at all, that you could pick up at a bottle show within a year if you're looking for one. But anyway, I get carried away with colonial stuff. How about that? How about that?
Yeah, Todd, do you want to talk about the Kent stuff?
Well, you know, this is what Jonathan Tinker came and made. He went from Mount Vernon to backwoods bears and Indians, Ohio, and on the frontier of the time, and was making blown 3 mold things. And here are some of them. That decanter with the miscolored stopper. It's very common to find them with miscolored stoppers. But that, if you take note that, I don't know what it is, flower vase or whatever to the right is out of the same mold.
Yep. That mold's the Group 2.6 mold, and you'll find it in many forms. Kent use that same mold, all sorts of stuff.
All sorts of stuff, all sorts. And if you get the bulbous ones that almost look like a Zanesville swirl, it's just a gorgeous presentation of that mold. They're beautiful when they're blown out like that. There's a close-up, but look at the description. First of all, that information is correct, but that's like saying this is a glass vase. Yeah, those two words are correct. It is glass and it is a vase, but you could be much more descriptive about it. And these things they may have acquired back when Hunter wrote his book, and he called everything Stiegel that he ran into. He's got Boston blown 3 mold in his book and calls it Stiegel. So maybe they may have owned this for 100 years or more, and maybe they didn't know anything about it when they got it. And there's no one there actively doing any research probably on the pieces that are already on display. So however they got taken in and cataloged, whatever the person said it was when they handed it to them is probably what the tags reflect.
What is this piece back here?
That looks to be sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah, blown 3 mold tumbler, a large tumbler, which they had to make in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. And I know why they have it there, because the mold that Sandwich made versus the mold that Kent had, there are some similarities. So they sort of just grouped things that looked similar together in this particular display. There we go.
A more bulbous example. And that pan is out of the same mold, the pan that's cut off to the right, but then mixed in with, Boston area things, and probably Philadelphia area things. There's a really rare decanter sitting right above the green one. If you know that mold or not, just by the base edge there, that's the decanter that has those bands of diamonds on it. So they do know that they have great things, but well, how do you say the same thing over and over and over? These oddly shaped Pitkins are monetarily quite valuable and very collectible. There's a wide mouth in the back left. Both of the two to the right of that pocket flask are really small, and one with the long neck, one with the almost the snuff style neck. These things are very, very collectible because of size alone. That looks like a green Worcester bowl off to the right. Great sugar underneath in blue.
Now, these are some of the cases that they've got. They did go into the sodas. They've actually done some of that.
Yeah. Like Fiesta ware into 1820s blown 3 mold.
Here's how you see those pieces displayed in that case. This one, that one.
And you can see on that case on the right, and in this case, you don't even have to go back, Michael, that look how non-lit that case is.
Oh, yeah.
The light's at the top. The back isn't lit. The back is wood. And the light comes in on the top, and all the sides are white, painted white. But by the time it gets to the bottom 2 shelves, look what happens to the light. And look at you can see it happen in every case. Look at the cases way behind. They do the same thing. The first 2 shelves get all the light. Oh, look at this, like chemistry, pharmacy shop, going back into like Roman glass, early German stuff, Byzantine type stuff. Super cool. If you ever take a tour of Europe, that stuff's everywhere. In every castle you walk in, it's just full of that. Really cool sealed black glass. Nice tableware there. looks like lily pad stuff on the shelf that's bottom to us, but it's pretty dark, hard to see. Mostly New England, mostly. I had some fun after one of my visits and I just named the stuff that I found. I didn't put the G numbers in, but I should have at the time. I was just lazy.
Yeah, in that last picture there, Mike, that bowl in the back left corner is just unbelievable.
Just stop it. Just stop. See, I mean, they're making a good attempt there. They tried.
Yeah,
they have things labeled. You can see everything on the shelf. I mean that's like A for effort. I don't know what all the tags say, but they at least tried.
yeah, it looks like salt on it.
Yeah, salt and then a date range and then their number.
There's that familiar little grouping. Took a long time ago.
Oh, they do have the one in the back labeled New England, so they do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's all really cool stuff. It doesn't all necessarily go together, but the first
Look
two,
at how dark this case is over here.
yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed when I've been there a few times, there's been lights completely out in some of the cases. So they look exactly like that, like no light at all. There was a lot of nice pillar molded Pittsburgh stuff in the top of that last case. Pretty early Pittsburgh glass, 1850s, utilitarian glass and pitchers and decanters.
Yeah, I think that whole lighting system has failed.
Yeah. And look at the quality of glass in this case. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Wow. Some really important sugar bowls from the Midwest. I see a Zanesville sugar, at least two Zanesville sugar bowls there. A Zanesville compote there in the front. A lot of nice globulars and chestnut flasks and pattern molded items. It'd be really nice to see that. Well, it even looks like there's a 10 diamond sugar bowl with a domed lid towards the bottom shelf there in aquamarine straight back.
Look at that diamond bowl in front of it.
Yeah. Yep. 10 diamond bowl in front of it. Yep.
Amazing. You know, nobody has enough room to display clear glass, especially 1830 to 1880 stuff. I mean, that 50-year span, clear was almost the top of the heap in every category, especially most tableware was clear. And look at all this clear stuff. And they could run the whole building full of clear stuff and probably never put out a duplicate like that. I don't know how much they have put away, but they probably have thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of stuff like this that people have donated and they bought in lots. And when they acquired other museums stuff, they're probably just inundated with clear. And it just gets to the point that it's another shelf of clear stuff, when you're trying to tell that story. But if this isn't one of your categories, you get bored pretty quick with it, in my opinion. cool kind of like whimsy, offhand kind of things, a lot of them. Bird watering devices and candlesticks. Gee whiz. Gemmel flask there, cased things, ribbed things. Very cool. Ah, I love this. That salt on the bottom shelf that's tipped up in the, it's almost center of the shelf. It's a beautiful greenish aqua. That says, if I'm not mistaken, it's like New England Glass Works or something on the base. That's why it's tipped up on its edge. And it's really hard to read. Well, this is not a good picture of it, but it's embossed on the base of where it was made. Just really cool, I think. And I think they did, you know, I'm sure those tags basically say master salts from a certain era. That's good enough. You don't have to explain each one of them, I don't think. They'll either catch your eye or they won't. Pressed Lacy glass. You know, there's probably presidents and eagles and beautiful patterns on a lot of this stuff. Gee whiz. Just some really cool stuff there, right? You could collect a lifetime and not have those 3 shelves very easily. Look at the size of that bowl on the bottom.
I think we had that in before.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
cool utilitarian glass. Our hobby would call utilities.
For a limited time, Create Your Own Pasta has a new spicy-free meat sauce, which happens to pair perfectly with our new bucatini.
Somebody has a TV on in the background.
There's quite a mix of stuff there. Everything from apothecary to scent bottles to, I think there's a mustard or a peppered bottle in the middle there.
That
Down
Doug?
to like, see that, it's hard to pick out, but
16 Pro.
right where your mouse is, don't move your mouse. The bottle to the left, that chamfered bottle, from a distance, that looked like the US Navy mustard, but it's not. It's actually a little earlier. They made a US Navy mustard and a US Navy pepper.
It's on the table.
Got a nice bromo seltzer.
And a Broma seltzer.
Your bones are 4 times as strong.
And you know, a 50-cent cone ink.
High absorption magnesium. It's in your nature to stand strong. It's in your nature.
Which they should do a whole writing
While you're typically at
section, you know, writing fluids, and start out with Harris, you know, the Harrison stuff, and show the transition over time. Here's a few stoneware ones, here's a few glass ones.
This could hit you out of nowhere. So it all stays
All those storage jars
like me.
and glasses, for goodness sake, eyeglasses. Some of that looks like it's from the 1950s. There's ancient glass. Super cool.
When I first saw him parked outside, I was like, why would he park under that tree? It doesn't make any sense. The orange leaves, the cleanup of the coffee.
I can't tell who that is.
I think it's Rick Baldwin, if you can mute him.
I did, and that didn't seem to work.
Give the ransom game a try. We just use
Conspiracy.
We have an astronaut for face, so we plan to keep it.
There.
There you go. Wow.
You know, if I can jump in on this, I threw this slide in to show what displays can be like when they're motivated to do it. I mean, that's a nice display for the space that it's in, and it's because they know what those things are. If they were not enameled or painted, they wouldn't be on display. They wouldn't know what they were. They wouldn't know how old they were. But because of the coat of arms and the languages that are used on them and whatnot, they can be dated. And you know, that's a very respectful display. And I think it comes out of their confidence of knowledge that they know what they're displaying.
Yeah, so back to some of the flask cabinets. This is a good, Mike, I think this captures it perfectly. This is what those flask cabinets look like when you're there at the museum. You can see up towards the top, there's some of those are 5 deep. And so those flasks in the back, we really can't get a great idea of what they are. In this picture here, I'll just give an example of something that's sort of in here. I think it's a group 812, and it's an extremely rare sunburst flask, and it's in the top left corner behind that front one. And so, yeah, you can kind of catch that it has a top on it, but that's an extremely rare flask, especially with a top on it, and probably unique with an applied lip like that.
Yeah.
And you can't really get a good look at it. And that one's only the second row back. There's things in the back of that.
Are you talking about this one?
Yep,
Yeah.
that bottle right there. Yep, that's the group 12.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one behind it.
Or group 812, rather. Yep.
Yeah. And they have the wide mouth on the back right.
Yeah, I see it there. Yep.
But you know, this shelf is taller than most people.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is.
So your eyes land about mid where the court scrolls are. So everything on the top shelf, if it's not in the front row, you're looking at the base of it because of how high it is above your eye level.
Well, you want to see anything down here, you got to get down on your knees.
Yeah. I have a picture of Jim Salswimmer sitting Indian style on the floor, looking into one of these cases, just sitting on the floor looking in, because you can't bend over. If you bend over to see everything you're interested in, you'll eventually just get dizzy and pass out. You like need viewing chairs, you know, to see the stuff that's down low.
Yeah, and you'll see down low, back on that last slide real quick, down towards the bottom of that, there was the group 1025 and 1026. So the other two Jared Spencers, the medallion and the pearls and diamonds. And they're down at the very bottom of that cabinet. So again, you have to get down on your knee if you wanna take a look at those bottles up close. And those are the ones up front.
Yeah.
And you know that American System is down low like that too, that yellow-green one in that same cabinet. So yeah, there we go. There we go. That's a good view of it.
I mean, I'm all for them displaying half pint scrolls and pint scrolls and quart scrolls, and they could make an amazing run of colors. Get every half pint you have that's a different mold or a different color, and just fill in not an area 6 deep, but fill an area in a linear manner, left to right, where you run, you know, all the colors from light to dark, and then do the same with the pints and the same with the quarts, because they deserve to be displayed. Even if they are aqua, they're Americana. They sat in every tavern on the Ohio River Valley, you know, for 20 years. they deserve some part in the display.
What is
Yeah,
this? What is this flask here, right?
that's the Stoddard flag. That's a really important flask,
That's a
as
great
well, and
flask.
that's the half pint next to it to the right.
It's
Um,
even rarer, isn't it, Matt?
Yep, it is, and it's turned around to the lettered side, so it's
Yeah.
yeah. And so the other really important, so it's really interesting. So to the left of those two, Jared Spencer, is the Harrison flask. So that's the Group 163 William Henry Harrison campaign flask. And for those of you that know the history of that, he was only in office for a month before he passed away. He got sick during his inauguration speech and passed away. So very, very rare and important flask.
No story. Just sitting on a shelf. Sitting on a shelf in the miscellaneous room.
Yep. Okay, so this is a great group of stuff. And I'm going to point out something that's really, really interesting. The aqua flask almost in the center, not the one with the beads, the one that's unbeaded to the left of center. That one right there, that's a group 435, and it's thought to be the only one known. And it's
I've got this one over here.
yeah, yep. Yeah, I've got a yellow amber one, Mike. They're great bottles. I love those things. The Masonic Unions, yeah. But that group, that aqua one in the center there, that 35, it's in a totally inconspicuous spot. No one would really bother to look at it much. But that has the Franklin ship on the backside, and it has smooth edges. There's no lettering on the edges, which makes it that combination of things makes that bottle extremely rare, possibly unique. Might be the only one.
And here's the two roof.
Yeah, look, on the bottom shelf in the back. You got to kneel down and turn your head to look at it.
And here's an E.G. Booze sitting there in the back.
Nice sunburst. Why don't they put all the sunbursts together?
Yeah, there's some great bottles here. I mean, it would take forever to. That's the on the left on the second shelf up. That is the Murdoch and Cassell. That's not the Shepherd flask. That's the Shepherd that's embossed with Murdoch and Cassell on it. Really an awesome, incredibly rare flask. But these are all down low, and that is a clear locomotive back behind the 35 there. That's kind of buried. You can't even really get a good look at that, but that's a clear one. Very, very unusual. Yeah, this is just another awesome grouping of flasks. I think we've talked about most of these already, but you can see that grouping of Masonic flasks. Oh, yeah, there's a really important Masonic flask there. It's the group 413A. Okay, so that bottle is center shelf to the right, all the way in the back. It's black. Yep, that one right there. I don't know. That's probably as far as we can zoom in, but that bottle is just another iconic Masonic flask that you don't see anywhere. Probably one of the earliest. It's got a really interesting form. It's got that extended base, so you can see the ovals almost in the middle of the bottle. And the top is like that early black glass double colored top. So this is a very, very early Masonic flask, but definitely not getting the attention or replacement it deserves in that group for sure. Yeah, again, a lot of important flasks. Some of them are buried. You can't even tell really what they are from the pictures. If you're there, you can kind of move your head around and start to pick out some here and there. But from this vantage point, you can see how hard it would be to really get a good look at some of those. Oh yeah. So there's a Group 2-8 in lavender in the middle.
Yeah.
That's a pretty awesome bottle that has the eagle on the front, and the sunburst on the back. These are sometimes referred to as bump eagles because they have giant bumps down the side. They're not really beads. On the left, that's that Group 2-5 in yellow green that's kind of buried back behind the campaign flask that we talked about a little earlier. The Court Farley and Taylor in the back, the lower shelf, the big aqua flasks in the back. So there's the Court Farley and Taylor. Amazing Louisville bottle. Really, really cool to see up and close, and you definitely really can't here. I believe that one does have a crack in it. Most of those are damaged. They're very thin and large, so a lot of them ended up cracked or chipped or damaged. Yeah, you can sort of see that crack there in that one. Not uncommon for that mold. Not many of them survived. One thing I want to point out real quick. Top shelf. This is about what you see when you're there. In the back, that yellow-green Columbia. You just see the base of it.
Yeah.
Oh, this one here?
Amazing, early Columbia flask from the Philadelphia area, Kensington Glassworks, and it's buried. Yeah, and another, they've got all sorts of rare and wonderful things here. It would just take forever to point them all out, but there's a lot of great bottles here.
What a difference a little light makes there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so here, the 89, the Lafayette's, the 89s, there's the A and B. Those are the herringbone rib ones on the far left front. Those are both extremely rare flasks. There's a couple now in private collections, but at the time McCarran wrote the book, there was only one example known of each of those bottles. A few have surfaced since then, but still very, very rare. I would say 3 or less of each of those. Yeah. So the Rough and Ready in Emerald Green, that's just an amazing bottle. I think that sort of speaks for itself. The Group 1-1 in light green, that's another early Pittsburgh Double Eagle. The Rough and Ready's probably Wheeling area.
What's the age of the Rough and Ready?
The Rough and Ready is 1840s, 1850s. So it's not quite as early as that one looks, but it's a great bottle.
Oh, wasn't Rough and Ready? Wasn't that? Didn't Roosevelt have something about that? Teddy Roosevelt? Oh, he's a Rough
General,
Riders. Rough Riders or Rough.
yeah, Rough Riders. So this would have been Zachary Taylor time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of awesome Washington Taylors. One that catches the eye pretty quickly is that lavender or pink sort of a Group 140 pint in the front on the left there. Just a really cool bottle. You can kind of get a little bit better look at that Court and Cobalt up there. The Lockport marked Group 160 Lockport Glassworks. Really great flask.
Oh, look at the tag on that shelf.
What's that?
Look at the tag on that shelf.
Oh,
Liquor flask.
yeah. And that the portrait flask in the front towards the right is I'm pretty sure that's the John Q. Adams flask. Another very rare and important Pittsburgh blown presidential flask. Yeah, this gives a good perspective of And this isn't even the worst crammed shelf of them, but this gives you an idea how tight some of those are in there. You can see the shelf up above is even a little tougher to see what's there. Yep, I think this is a repeat of one we went over.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
these
rough and ready again.
repeating a little bit there. Yep, same.
There's this blue one that you were looking at, one.
Yeah, that's a pretty good shot of it for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so these are a lot of the early beaded Pittsburgh portrait flasks. The one second upper left corner, it's black. It's a Group 1-9 Washington Eagle in black. And it's truly like coal black. You can't even see through it. There's a Group 114 Firecracker in blue behind. So the iconic blue Washington Firecracker is in the very back. You can hardly see that bottle at all.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There's a few that probably aren't even on display. They have a Group 116A, which is thought to be unique as well. So it looks very much like the Firecracker, but there's no embossing all around the sides. The July 4, the Adams and Jefferson, 1870 or 1776 embossing around the edges. It's just smooth, and it is thought to be unique at this time. So.
And these are some of the displays that are displayed a little bit better.
Yeah. So the Group 415 there in the center, that's the NG Co. Masonic. It's black up top and it sort of shades to this brilliant yellow. The lighting is not great, but it's pretty much yellow bottom. That bottle is incredible. As many probably are aware, even in aqua, that one in a crazy two-tone color like that is off the charts. And then you can see the Group 2 76A concentric ring flash sort of tucked behind it to the right there. And I'm glad they have this one displayed well. This is probably arguably the most important of the Pittsburgh bottles they have there. This is a lavender Group 1020, and this one actually says BP and B on it. This is the unique, as far as I know, this one is unique and the only one of that mold known in the American system. There's 3 different molds of the American system. This is one of them, and this is the only known example.
And those top shoulders are paper thin on that flask, just paper thin. That flask shouldn't exist.
I think that brings us to the end of the presentation. Anybody have any questions on any of the flasks that they saw that you want to ask Matt and Todd about?
So this is Alice. So your point here is that the information is being lost to people and they don't know what they're looking at. And so one of the projects that the Federation could do is get a group of people together that would offer their services to change that. And and educate them on how these bottles should be displayed, do a better information on them, make the descriptions, discuss rarity and so forth, and really become a consultant to them, because the Federation should be known as the bottle experts that anybody can look to. And certainly the Corning Museum of Glass, if they're going to show these, should be showing them in an appropriate way. So I think that's your point in doing this, Michael, right?
Yeah, and I think, as Todd was saying, and Matt, that a lot of these might have been picked up years ago, and they were given to them, and they really don't know what they've got. Nobody's gone through the stuff. They have some graduate students that may be working on some papers that go through some of the things. I think that, you look at the knowledge that we had in the 70s and 80s, the knowledge that we have today is, far superior than what we've got. We've got 40 more years of expertise of looking at these things and knowing that this is a one of a kind, because it hasn't shown up for 40 years. So that is a key there. And I think that we just love to be able to donate our knowledge to these people.
Do you think that they have the space to give adequately to all the bottles if they say wanted to display every single one they display now? Do they have the space to separate them out to give them their due credit?
No, I don't think so, really. I think you need to they've been expanding the museums there's a lot of open space around, as you walk through the displays and stuff. They could probably give us some room. They could take that display case area and allow us to, I don't know, help them rotate displays. Maybe you can't display everything, but if you had a rotating display, you get your bottle collectors who'd come there, and it's kind of a pilgrimage to see what do they have on display this time. And you can imagine what they've got in their warehouse that they don't even know what they've got.
Do you think the way to begin would be to take some of these pictures and circle them and mark them with X's and boxes and everything, and then give the description of them and give them an example of how they could make that display more appropriate? I guess
I think that Mike Craig has a close relationship with Treg Silkwood, and Treg did work at Corning. He knows the glass blowers there. He gave us an in with Jeff Mack to get in and talk to him. We had a complete run of the place. We were, behind the scenes looking at all sorts of stuff. I think we need to take that a step farther and get a meeting with the curators and just kind of present them what we can offer them and see where this goes. And I know that at this point in time, it's been separated from Corning Glass. It's on its own, and it's looking for funding. It could be looking for, ways to make its museum, more profitable. You want to change what you see, because you hate to go there and see the same things over and over and over again. You don't go back. But if you knew this was happening and we got an in with these people, and maybe in 26 we don't have a an expo or a convention set up for that year, but maybe we could get together with some of these Corning people and set it up so that we can go there and have some kind of an inn where we can actually see some of this and if nothing else, maybe they'll open up some of the display cases and pull some of the things out so you can get a better picture of things, and we can tell them the importance of some of these items that they have.
Well,
Just so that
I'd caution you, I don't want to get into technicalities here, but a group of you going in there and thinking that they're gonna let you touch the bottles, take the
no,
bottles.
no, I didn't say that.
That's
They can
not
open
gonna
the display case and
Right.
show us some of the things.
Right, right. And they probably don't have someone who wants to handle them either. But that isn't going to do you any good.
You know,
Nobody will remember what you've said. I think you need to,
Michael, if they had people that knew the value of some of these flasks, if they are looking for money, they could open up a small auction and sell some of those bottles that Matt and Todd were saying were so valuable, and they could get some instant funding, and that might be incentive enough to them to want to try to
Yeah,
employ
Mike and I told them that.
some of the
oh,
guys.
that's
the
an excellent idea. That's an excellent idea, Kathy. They wouldn't
Well,
be.
if nothing else, they
know
could sell
what
out some of the
water-
common things.
Yeah.
If I could jump in, I think part of there are many problems at hand. Many problems at hand. All of the cases that we just looked at where the bottles were 4 and 5 and 6 deep, all of those cases are in one room of the museum. They are the most underrepresented items in the entire museum. There's a tag above the archway of the room when you walk in, and it says miscellaneous items or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And that's how these items are looked at, and they have conservatively several $1 million worth of glass in that miscellaneous room. Now, Corning, I think, has lost its way. Corning does not know what business they're in. Corning should be called the Corning Gallery of Contemporary Glass, because that's where the square footage of the museum represents what they're trying to do. They have more square footage of new things within the last 100 years than they have of historic things. So they have something that somebody made in Norway in 1968, and it is super freaking cool. It is super cool. You look at it, you go, oh my God. It's almost like, the guy made a glass engine block for a car, which, by the way, glass blowers think that they should be glass. A glass blower wants everything to be glass, and I get that. And people are coming up, the Chihulis of the world are making unbelievable things that are very striking, but they're contemporary pieces of glass. The building is called the Corning Museum of Glass, and that's not really what they do anymore. The museum is inconvenient for them because they have a wonderful collection of ancient glass that they put half of it isn't even displayed anymore. I've noticed since I've been back recently, but they have pieces that I can't even talk about because I'll tear up and choke up. They're unbelievable, and they shouldn't exist, but they do. And Corning did everything right to acquire those things and display them, and they tell stories about them. And then they have some colonial American things that they are basically unaware of. And then they get into early American things, and they just kind of threw them in a room, except for the clear going toward lavender American systems, which made it out on a main display somewhere, and it's really cool and you can see it. But compared to the number of things they have that could be displayed and be interesting, I mean, where are the railroad flasks? Why aren't they telling the story of the East and West Railroad meeting? Where's the story of success to the railroad? with all of those flasks that they could tell that story with. You know, it's really not the Museum of Glass anymore. It's really, really geared toward contemporary artists.
Is
And
there a way
maybe
to
you
make
have to
them?
do that. Maybe all that was monetary. Maybe nobody
Yeah.
came to see the old stuff anymore.
I wonder if you can work towards making the museum more or less a wing. And you know, the Federation doesn't have money to do this, but you could, you know, somehow sponsor that wing, even just with providing knowledge and being consultants for them.
You would
And
think with the
it would,
grant money that's available,
yeah, yeah,
I
you
would
would
think
think so.
Corning would be privy to some very large grants.
Well, you know, the thing is, they're going to do more of what they get results from. And apparently they're getting results from the contemporary glass. I don't know if they have I can't think of the word right now, but if they count the number of people who go into the room to see the bottles versus the other, they're gonna emphasize where people go the most. So maybe the part of the point of it is to get it organized better and get bottle people going there. You know, having tours there and advertising it and supporting it by attendance and so forth. And I think that nobody can learn anything by going and looking at those bottles. Nobody can learn anything. You know, there's a description here, there, whatever, and they're looking at a bunch of bottles that they have no idea what they mean. So it's kind of like when they walk out of that room, they don't know any more than when they walked into the room, save a few items. You know, and that's a shame.
Well,
It
you know,
should be an
Alice,
educational thing.
to your point, Alice, I live in North Canton, Ohio,
Yeah.
and this is the home of Hoover. The Hoover
Uh-huh.
factory actually started in New Berlin, and then during World War I, the word Berlin wasn't worldwide marketable anymore, so
Yeah.
we North Canton.
Yeah.
There's a museum here of the Hoover company / corporation, and they
Are we
start.
talking vacuums? Are we talking the
Yeah,
Hoover vacuums?
yeah,
Oh my goodness. Okay.
and
Okay.
they start you on a tour of the oldest examples of the Hoover vacuums and how the technology changed, and look what happened here to this. And then the thought was, well, then this dropped out of vogue and this came into vogue, and everything morphed, and you can basically watch how you know, this is a metaphorical statement. You can watch how a deerskin wine cask becomes a Pepsi bottle, step by step,
Yeah.
in its evolution, and that's what the Hoover company does. And people go through the museum, you know, daily, and I think they at least learn something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that could be done here, but I think Corning is geared toward bus tours. It's where you go see pretty things, you know, shiny, pretty, exotic, conceivably unbelievable to design and make and execute items that are there. And it's like, wow, a human being made that, you know, and it is very impressive. You go to the Corning gift shop, it's extremely impressive what's for sale
But
there.
you
And
know,
all
you
that
could
stuff is
tell
contemporarily.
you could tell the story of how these bottles were made and why they were made and what they were doing with them. The glass where they're looking at sits on a table, on a shelf. These things were carried in people's pockets. You know, and those stories are what would bring this to life for people who would go and look at it. So I think
Maybe they
there's
need ambassadors.
yes, yeah. I think there's a real opportunity here. I think it needs some organization and some time. And I think if the Federation can put their over umbrella on it, it could be really a very good thing, both for the Federation and for the museum and for every member.
I think one thing that you have to remember, if you've been to the Smithsonian lately, you don't go into the American Museum and see George Washington's uniform anymore. You see a lot of contemporary things there. They're gearing it down to, like you say, to kids' tours going through. You don't see the history in any of these things anymore. And I guess it depends on what sells. And you know, I guess we have to decide, talk to them at least, and see if we can tell them that we think that you're going to get a lot of more gate if you do something like this. It's not going to hurt anything if you put things in those display cases and maybe got a little better light and wrote up some better descriptions of some of the bottles. You know, it can't hurt anything.
Well, the Federation could help them promote.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And do the write-ups. See, they don't have somebody to do the write-ups. They're not going to hire somebody to do the write-ups. The mission, the purpose of the Federation people would be to do their job for them. And, you know, I would think that they would welcome that if you say, we're going to do this for you. If you go in and say, you should be doing this, they're just, yep, we don't have any people to do that, whatever. So you kind of have to go in as the savior of the museum.
Okay, well, we've beat that horse to death.
Well, I think what you want to do before this gets lost is, if you're interested in pursuing this, let Michael know, and he'll keep a list of people. And then there's got to be some kind of meeting, presentation, whatever, to them. And those people who are interested need to be involved. So
I think Mike and I will see if we can get a contact there that we can actually sit down with. We were
Right.
there kind of just at the spur of the moment, and you know, we didn't have anything set up, but I really do think that we need to get an audience with somebody important that we can talk to. They do
well, if
pick
you
up our
and Mike go
magazine.
in there, you're
They
not gonna,
so anyway.
if you and Mike go in there, you're not gonna have the same effect as if Todd and Matt go in there, because they can explain all the
Yeah,
bottles.
yeah, well, right. Well, we
Okay.
got to find out at that contact that we can actually go
Yeah.
in there and then get a team to go in and talk to them.
Awesome.
Okay, so anybody who's interested in pursuing this thing further, you know, let me know, and we'll put you on a committee and we'll work on it.
The other
I want
thing
to
that
thank
we could
everybody.
do, the other thing we could do, Michael, I just thought of this, is that if you would get permission from them to take a picture for each issue of the magazine and explain every bottle in that picture in the magazine. And you would begin the process of showing them how the descriptions of them would be, could be made and would be helpful and interesting. So we could kind of bring that into our sphere rather than expecting you're going to take yourself into theirs.
Oh, the other thing, there's probably some of these items that should be in the Virtue Museum, but
Oh.
that's down the
Good point.
line yet too. So, and I think if we show them the Virtue Museum, they will understand that we do know what we're talking about. So,
Oh, that could be the
okay,
first
so
step.
yeah, so okay, I want to thank everybody for being on the call, and I want to thank Matt and Todd for putting together the information that I learned more today, and I've gone in and I've seen this collection three times, and I don't know what I'm looking at, but I know there's some cool stuff in there. So thank you for helping us, and next seminar is going to be the second one in the poison. Vern Hofstetter is going to do another seminar on poisons. So the rest of you, I'll see you at Reno. Okay. So okay, thanks a lot. I'm going to stop recording.